I bought a quiet piece of land on the edge of town where I planted rows of apple trees. It was my dream and orchard that reminded me of my childhood summers. The land wasn't part of any neighborhood or subdivision. It was private property I worked hard for. Most of the neighbors were supportive, even buying apples for me during the season. But then came Karen, the self-appointed queen of the nearby HOA. From the start, Karen didn't like my orchard. She'd show up at the fence, arms crossed, muttering about ruining the community's image. One afternoon, she marched right onto my property, shouting, "These apple trees are an eyesore. They need to be chopped down immediately." I calmly explained that my farm wasn't under her HOA's control, but she wouldn't hear it. Her face turned red, and she threatened, "If you don't remove them, I'll make sure the authorities do." I didn't think much of it until 2 days later, flashing lights pulled into my driveway. Karen had actually called the cops, claiming I was illegally running a commercial farm. She stood behind the officers, smirking, and barked, "See? Chop it all down." The officers asked me for paperwork, and I handed them my land deed and business license. That's when Karen's smirk began to fade. The lead officer raised an eyebrow and said, "Ma'am, he's not only within his rights, this property is zoned agricultural. He's perfectly legal." Still, Karen wouldn't back down. She started yelling at the officers, demanding they shut me down. Finally, I stepped forward and introduced myself properly. "Karen, I'm not just a farmer," I said. "I'm also a lawyer, and I specialize in property and zoning law. So unless you'd like a lawsuit for harassment and trespassing, I suggest you stay off my land." Her jaw dropped. The officers gave her a warning to leave immediately, and she stormed off, sputtering about how she'd take this to the HOA board. Since that day, she's kept her distance. My orchard continues to thrive, and every fall, families come by to pick apples and enjoy the farm. Ironically, some of her own neighbors now visit me regularly, telling me how glad they are that I stood up to her. In the end, Karen's attempt to destroy my dream only made it stronger. And every time I see the orchard in bloom, I'm reminded that standing your ground, especially against bullies, always pays off. Asterisk. For more interesting and heart-touching stories, hit the subscribe button now.